Welcome to NEXTGames video on installing and configuring the 20 Windower add-ons and plugins that I use in my videos. Now, one of the most common questions I get on my videos is what plugin is that? So I figured it would be good to do a video going over all the add-ons and plugins that I use so that everyone knew how to get them and how to configure them. Now, most of these can simply be activated from inside of the default Windower installation under the add-ons or plugins tabs, but a few do require manual installation. Now, if you followed my How to Make Final Fantasy XI Beautiful in 2020 video, you will already have Windower 4 installed. But if you didn't, then you need to go to windower.net, I will put the URL in the description, and then click on this green Download Windower 4.3 button. Now, the file it downloads is not an installer file, it's an executable. So what you want to do is go to your Downloads folder, right-click on it, and then copy. Now go to wherever it is you'd like Windower 4 to reside, create a new folder, and call it Windower 4. Paste the windower.exe inside of this Windower 4 directory and then run it. This will have Windower download all the files it needs to run and install them in this directory. Now, instead of opening Play Online to get to Final Fantasy, from now on you will launch Windower 4 and then click on this green arrow in the lower right hand corner to launch Play Online. During this video, if I refer to an add-on or a plugin as a default, then it means it will be automatically available to you when you download the latest version of Windower 4. It also means that these add-ons and plugins will be automatically updated, which is a nice feature. Now, to download an add-on or plugin and install it for the first time, simply click on the arrow going down next to its name. After an add-on or plugin is downloaded, you can turn it on and off by clicking on the toggle next to its name as well. Now let's get our first few add-ons installed. The first add-on we are going to talk about is Battlemod. It's a default Windower add-on that customizes battle chat messages. Now, the two things that this mod does by default is condense multi-target buffs and multiple hits in the same attack round into a single line. This is most useful with when AoE buffs are cast, as well as with jobs that hit multiple times per attack round to clean up the battle log spam that can occur because of these things. This add-on is highly configurable through many XML files. Things such as the items that are condensed and the colors used can be changed. For more information on how to do this, you will want to go to the GitHub page that you will find a link for in the description of this video. The next add-on I will go over is called Cancel. It's also a default add-on that allows you to cancel buffs from the command line using buff IDs or buff names. It also accepts wildcards. What this all means is that you can simply type in something like // cancel copy image star to cancel all types of Utsemi shadows, or // cancel defender to cancel defender. Buff IDs can be a pain to track down, so that's why the ability to use buff names is so useful. As you can see here, // cancel copy image 3 does nothing. When we go up to our buffs menu, we see that the full name of this buff is actually copy image 4+. So when I cancel that through the command line, it now successfully cancels our shadows. Similarly, we just casted Kaka Ichi. To cancel this, we would not use // cancel Kaka. Instead, if we go up to the buffs menu, we can see that it's referred to as store TP. So // cancel store TP will give us the result we need. Now, you may be wondering when it is we would use this. Well, it's mainly used in macros to cancel a buff before using another buff. So, for instance, casting Utsemi Ichi while you have Utsemi Ni shadows up will result in you gaining no shadows. However, if you modify the macros we are doing here to cancel those shadows right before we cast Utsemi Ichi, then we will be able to get the benefit of those new shadows. Now, please note this is just an example of its use. There are many ways to cancel shadows before casting Utsemi with varying benefits. In this example, we run the risk of not having any shadows up if our Ichi casting is interrupted. The next add-on that I will discuss is Debuffed. This is another default Windower add-on that displays for you all of the debuffs on the current mob you are fighting. Up until recently, it did not include Ninja and Feebles, but after I pointed out this limitation on the Final Fantasy AH forums, some of the coders were able to figure out why it wasn't working and get it fixed, so as of a few weeks ago, this now also tracks Ninjutsu and Feebles. If you do not like the positioning of the window, you can simply click on it when it's visible and drag it to wherever it is you'd like it to be. This next add-on is called DistancePlus, another default windowware add-on that tells you your distance from the mob. It also will tell you your distance from the pet if you have one. This add-on will automatically determine what job you are on and determine the correct mode to put you in. For instance, this is job ability mode and it's in for my ninja. Notice the numbers were in white when I was out of range, but once they turn green, provoke now works. If I were to be a Corsair, it would adjust it so that the color coded between white, yellow, green, and blue to tell you the best range for shooting, and in magic mode, it goes green when you are in range of being able to cast a spell. It will also display the distance to your pet if you have one, and if you use the //du height, it will activate height mode, which turns off all other modes and will tell you when the height difference between you and the mob is sufficient to avoid AoE. The next add-on we will discuss is DressUp. If you happen to watch my How to Make Final Fantasy XI Beautiful in 2020 video, you should already have this active. This default add-on has two main purposes. The first is to emulate BlinkMeNot capabilities to keep yourself and others from blinking when they change gear. To activate this ability, you can either type //du blinking all on into the command prompt each time you log in, or make sure that du blinking all on is in your init.txt file, which can be found underneath your windowware 4 directory, underneath the script subfolder. Now that we are no longer blinking when we change gear, let's talk about the second function of this add-on. It allows you to change your visible appearance to any race or face. Please keep in mind that you are the only one to see this change, as it's simply changing how your computer is displaying your model. By typing the command //du self race and then a race, you can change to that race. So //du self race Mithra will change me to a Mithra. Please note that for Hume, Elven, and Taru, you must specify male or female after the race. You can then change the face you are displaying by entering //du self face and then a number between 1 and 8, followed by A or B. For instance, //du self face 3B changes us to this face. You will have to go through all 16 faces to find the one that you prefer. Note that if you find a race that you prefer being all the time, other than your default race, then you can add the entries to your init.txt file to make sure that you're always that race. The entries that you are at are right there below. DressUp also has the ability to change your armor to whatever you'd like to display. To learn more of this functionality, you'll need to follow the link in the video description to this author's GitHub page. The next add-on is our first manually installed add-on, and it's the one that I get the most questions about. It's called EquipViewer, and it displays your currently equipped gear. This can be very useful in making sure that gear is being properly changed out by your macros. Let's go through where to find and how to install EquipViewer. Now the first thing you should be made aware of with EquipViewer is it keeps its own list of icons for all of the equipment in the game. This means if an update adds equipment during that given month, it will be shown as a white box until you download the latest update manually from the mod author and update those icons on your computer. I'll show you how to do both the initial install process as well as the updating process for those icons. Now we're going to need 7-zip for this because that's what the author uses. So you want to go to this website right here of 7zip.org. Make sure you do not go to 7zip.com. And then download the appropriate version on whether or not you're on 64-bit or a 32-bit operating system. Now simply execute that file you've downloaded, choose the location you'd like to install it to. I would recommend underneath your program files directory, and hit install. Now hit close and WinZip has been installed. So the mod author's install for this was kind of complicated and I wanted to simplify it for you all. So I've repackaged EquipViewer and put it on my GitHub page. You can find the link down there in the description. Go ahead and download it. Once it's downloaded, you should be able to go to your downloads folder, right click on it, go to the 7-zip option that should now be there, and go to extract to EquipViewer. If you do not see that context menu, it's probably because you need to reboot before you'll see it, so go ahead and try that first. Now there are tens of thousands of little icon files inside of this file, so it could take a few minutes for you to unzip. After 7-zip finishes extracting the files, right-click on EquipViewer and go to Copy. Now browse to wherever it is you installed your windowware 4 file, double-click on the add-on subfolder, and then paste EquipViewer. Note that you will probably have many more add-ons than this in yours. I'm pasting mine into a fresh install of windowware 4, which is why you're not seeing any other add-ons here. After you have finished copying EquipViewer to the add-ons folder, Go back to the root of Windower 4, and then to the scripts subfolder, and then open init.txt. We need to modify some entries at the end of this file. I now need you to go to my GitHub page and click on the init.txt file that you see here. You will then want to scroll to the very bottom of this list and highlight all of the things that say Next Game Edit and below. Then right-click on them and go to Copy. Now you need to go back to the init.txt file that we'd opened and scroll to the very bottom. Now if you've already followed my How to Make Final Fantasy XI Beautiful in 2020 video, you'll already have a Next Game Edit section. If you do, highlight that section and replace it with what we just copied. If you don't, then you want to place your Next Game Edits at the very end of your init.txt like you see here. Now if you had followed my video on how to make Final Fantasy beautiful, I want you to make all of these edits that you're seeing on your screen here, so that your Next Game Edit section looks identical to this. Now if you didn't follow my previous video on how to make Final Fantasy XI beautiful, I want to make sure that I don't mess with your settings. Therefore, I would like you to make your Next Game Edit section look like this. After your changes are finished, go ahead and hit save, and let's load up the game to see if EquipViewer loads. Now if everything went well and you're on a 1920 by 1080 resolution screen, you should see it loaded right here in the lower right hand corner. However, if you're not on a 1920 by 1080 resolution screen, you may not see it in this location. If that is the case, then we need to do some trial and error in order to determine what the correct settings should be. To figure out what those settings should be, type in //EquipViewer space POS space 500 space 500 to get an initial idea of where it is on your screen. Hopefully you can now clearly see the EquipViewer screen. Now what we need to do is type in that EquipViewer POS command again, but this time change those last two sets of numbers. We'll refer to them as X and Y. You want to make EquipViewer move right, you simply make X higher. If you want to make the EquipViewer window move left, you want to make X lower. Likewise, if you want to make that EquipViewer window move up, you make Y higher, and if you want it to move down, make Y lower. Continue doing trial and error and changing these numbers until you find out what the ideal numbers are for your resolution and the placement of where you want it. If you have determined you need to adjust EquipViewer's location, then after you determine what those numbers should be, please come into your init.txt file and change this entry right here to reflect what it is you've determined the number should be, so that it always loads at that location. After you're finished editing this, please hit File and Save. Now the last thing we're going to do is show you how to update the icons when the updates happen each month. So what you want to do is go to Project Taco's GitHub page that you'll see the location from here. Like all of these URLs, I'll put them in the description. You'll want to make sure that he's modified it in recent time. If it's been over a month, then you're going to need to wait until he gets around to updating it. But when it has been updated, simply click on icons.7z and then this download button right here to download the icons file. After it's finished downloading, simply right-click on it, go to the 7-zip context menu, and then extract to icons. Once it's finished extracting, simply right-click on it, go to copy, and now we're going to copy it into the EquipViewer folder underneath the Addon subfolder inside of the Windower 4 directory here. Now there is tens of thousands of tiny files in this folder, so this is going to take a few minutes. After it's done with this initial calculation, it's going to ask if you want to overwrite them. You want to say yes to all. So that's going to be it for the lengthy explanation of how to install EquipViewer. Let's go ahead and move on to our next add-on, which is called GearInfo, which is also a manually installed add-on. GearInfo is a manually installed add-on created by Serbig666 that tracks your currently equipped gear and buffs to display valuable information. Now he no longer supports this add-on, and it's not 100% accurate when calculating things such as augments on gear, but it's a useful tool for quickly assessing an estimate of your current stats, including both gear and buffs. Now this add-on is highly configurable, but what I've done is gone ahead and set up a configuration just like you see here, so that you can download this from my GitHub and easily install it and get this result. Now if you want, you can change all of these boxes to be different colors or display different information, what have you, and I will put a link in the description of this video to Serb's GitHub page where it explains exactly how to do all that. Additionally, GearInfo has the capability to talk to GearSwap and actually do things like change your gear in relations to the readings that it's seeing here. Now, I don't like doing that because I prefer to have complete control over those things, but know that that capability is there if you're on a job that you'd prefer to have it taking care of some of those things for you. Again, all of that information can be found on Serb's GitHub page. Now let's go ahead and discuss how it is we can manually get this installed. You will want to go to my GearInfo GitHub page. Again, you'll find the link down there in the description. Once you go there, click on the GearInfo link and then on this download button to download the GearInfo.zip file. Once downloaded, simply right click on it, 7-zip, extract to GearInfo. Once it's extracted, right click on it and go to copy. Now you want to go to where your Windower4 directory is and then to the add-on subfolder, then right click paste. Now GearInfo is installed. All we have to do is activate it in the init.txt file. So go to your scripts folder and then open init.txt and scroll to the NEXTGames edits portion. Now we want to remove the / and space from before LUA load GearInfo. Please do that as I have done here and then hit File Save. Now you may be asking why there is that wait 30 command for the LUA load GearInfo command. I have learned that the LUA GearInfo command will not work unless your character is already logged in. Therefore I put that wait 30 command there so that by the time that wait is over, your character should be logged in and therefore GearInfo loads successfully. Now once it's loaded successfully, as you can see here, I can drag it across my screen and into any location that I want. I prefer it right here, but you can put whatever works best for your particular resolution. Now the last thing I want to talk about is the wiki that is available for this add-on. It is extremely detailed and goes into all the different commands and features that you can use with it, as well as exactly what the GearSwap code is if you wanted to utilize this with GearSwap. I'll of course go ahead and put a link to this down there in the description so that you can delve into it further if you want to use this add-on more than I am using. The next add-on, GearSwap, is a default Windower4 add-on that has pretty much unlimited capabilities in what it can do. Now at its core, this is designed to swap you into specific gear sets based on 4 different situations. An idle setup, which is the kind of the gear you'll walk around town in. Your precast setup, which is the gear that you'll have on when you start casting a spell or ability. A midcast setup, which is the gear that you will have on when you finish casting that spell or ability, and then an aftercast setup, which is the gear that you will be switching to after that spell or ability is used. Now beyond that, people have programmed their GearSwap scripts to do a number of creative automated tasks. A few examples are to automatically use an echo potion when silenced, automatically change to a different gear set based upon the amount of haste you currently have, or automatically switch to an ideal gear set based upon the day or weather. And remember that these are just some examples of what people have done with GearSwap. Now for the purposes of this tutorial, I'm simply going to explain how to install GearSwap, which is frankly just a matter of turning it on in the Windower4 interface. The difficult part is then either going out to the internet and finding an appropriate GearSwap file for your job that you will then need to alter to fit your gear setup, or to create a GearSwap LUA from scratch, which I do not recommend if you are not a programmer. Now after you've enabled GearSwap, all you need to do is go to your add-ons folder, and then go inside the GearSwap folder, and then the data folder. Now here's where you're going to be putting all of those LUA or job files that I was talking about that will actually tell GearSwap what to do. Now let's go ahead and show you. This is one that I made for my Ninja, and this is the type of thing that you'll have to do in order to actually get this file to work for you. As you can see here, I am listing every single piece of gear, ammo, head slot, rings, earrings, all that stuff here, and exactly in which gear set I want to use all of those pieces of gear. It's hundreds of lines long and incredibly detailed. Here you'll see exactly where it is I'm specifying the different spells that Ninja will cast and what piece of gear I'm supposed to change into at every point of that casting. So this is the complexity of how GearSwap works. And it is kind of overwhelming at first to kind of get into, but after you do get it set up, it greatly simplifies how you can play this game and greatly automates the changing of gear, which actually can bring a lot more enjoyment to your game, I find. Now, in order to find some of these LUAs, you just kind of want to search on the internet for type in things like LUA, GearSwap, FFXI, and that's going to bring up other people's GitHub pages that have their own LUAs that they've shared. Go ahead and try and find one for the particular job that you're trying to use for GearSwap, and then open that file and play with it and go from there. I know that was just kind of a glance at GearSwap. Know that I'll be doing a much more further in-depth look in my next tutorial video, which will be going over Ninja macros. So look for that if you're looking for more information on exactly how GearSwap works. Let's go ahead and move on to our next add-on, ohShi. The next add-on, ohShi, is a default Windower 4 add-on that pulls important messages from the battle log and displays them next to the mob to make sure that they are not missed. Dangerous enemy castings as well as Void Walk proc messages are displayed here. It will also display Corsair rolls. You can configure the location, background, and text color of this box as well as add things for it to track. Type //ohShi help to get a list of the commands to do this. They are also displayed above. The next add-on is simply called Omen, and it helps you track the objectives as you progress from floor to floor. Depending on what other add-ons you have loaded, this box's current location may get in the way. To put it where you want, simply drag it to the location that works best for you. The next add-on is manually installed and called PartyBuffs. It shows you the buff of all your party members next to their names. Please note, it does not work on Trust or Alliance members. Now please note that PartyBuffs uses icons from the XIView add-on and not the default icons. You can also double the size of the icons by tapping //pb space size space 20. Type //pb space size space 10 if you want to set it back to the default. Now let's talk about how to get this add-on installed. You want to go to the GitHub location I've set up just for the PartyBuffs add-on. I will put the link down there in the description, and then click on partybuffs.zip. Once you're on that page, you then want to click on the download button that you see here. After the file has finished downloading, right-click on it, and then extract to PartyBuffs. Then copy that PartyBuffs folder that has just been created, and go ahead and put it inside of your Windower 4 add-ons folder. Now the last thing we need to do is activate this by going to the scripts and then the init.txt file, scrolling down to the NEXTGame edit section, and then removing the / and space before the LUA load PartyBuffs. Now that we have PartyBuffs installed and configured, let's go ahead and move on to our next add-on. The next add-on is a Windower 4 default add-on, and it's called PetTP. It simply displays a text bar showing your pet's hit points and TP. I have this docked below my hit point bar usually, but you can drag it anywhere as you see here. This is the add-on's only function, and it has no option, so let's move on to our next. The next add-on is a default add-on that can be extremely useful in determining what gear sets work best against your current adversary. It's called Scoreboard, and it's a real-time DPS utility. It keeps track of all the attacks going on and outputs it into an easy-to-understand format. Now to make the window appear, you first need to type //sb space visible. You can then drag it to wherever it is you want to be located on your screen. If you always want this window to appear by default when you log in, then you want to remove the // and the space before the entry under the NEXTGames edit in your init.txt file. In addition to what's shown in the display, you can also use a variety of commands to output additional information. You can check the following stats through the command line. Now some examples of commands that you can type to get results are //sb space stat space mavg. This will give you the averages of all of your melee attack rounds. You can also type //sb space stat space crit range. What that will do will give you the low and the high amount of damage that your critical attacks have done while they've been parsering. The next one we can do is let's try //sb space stat space ACC. And that's going to give you your total ACC percentage or accuracy percentage while it's been tracking. The WS average stat is also extremely useful when it comes to parsering and determining just how much damage your weapon skill is doing on different gear sets over a long period of time. The last example we'll give is //sb space report space linkshell2. And this is going to output the results of your DPS to the entire linkshell chat for everyone to see, for instance at like the end of a Dynamis run or something, so that everyone kind of see how they performed during that run. The next add-on we will talk about is another simple default add-on that simply tells you the treasure hunter level on the current mob that you are fighting. Like so many of the display windows, this one can be dragged anywhere that is convenient for viewing on your screen. We are now finally at the last add-on I will suggest, and it is a default add-on called Tparty. It has two main functions. The first is to simply show a percentage next to your enemy's health. Now this is only slightly useful on normal mobs, but on notorious monsters in the game that do not show their hit points as you fight them, this can actually be very helpful. The second function of this add-on is to show you all of your alliance members' TP, including your trust. Now that's going to be it for the 15 add-ons that I suggest. Now let's go over the 5 Windower plugins that I suggest. Fortunately, all of them are default plugins, which means you can simply activate them from the Windower GUI if you wish to use them. The first plugin we installed as a part of our How to Make Final Fantasy Beautiful in 2020 video. It is called Config, and the main thing we use it for is uncapping your frames per second. SE has capped SVS at 30. But with this installed, if you type //config space frame rate divisor space 1, it will uncap your session to 60 frames per second. Please note you will still only be able to take advantage of what your system's resources can offer, but in many circumstances that should still be over 30 frames per second with most systems. Now if you always want it to be uncapped, you want to make sure the // is removed from the second frame rate divisor 1 line in your init.txt file underneath the NEXTGames edit section. Now you may ask why there are 2 of these entries. Well, the first one is specifically for my Make Final Fantasy Beautiful in 2020 video. However, I have discovered that once you install all of the add-ons and plugins that we just have, that for whatever reason that entry no longer works in the positioning that it's in that init.txt file. Therefore, we put a // and a space before that original entry, and then move it to after the wait 30 command, so that it ends up uncapping the frame rate about 30 seconds after you've logged in. Since I moved it here, it's continued to work without issue. Now that's it for the config plugin. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one, which is a simple plugin called DelayMeNot. Now all this does is removes that 1 second delay between when you hold down the Control or Alt key and when your macro bar pops at the top of the screen. This makes it much easier to actually know which macro you're pressing before you press it, especially if you don't happen to have your macros memorized yet. The next default plugin is called FFXIDB. It is a very useful plugin that displays a minimap on your screen. You can click on it at any time and drag it to a more convenient location. It will also conveniently turn itself off during events where it's not useful, such as Dynamis and Omen. The next default plugin is called InfoBar, and it displays useful information to help you in the upper left-hand corner. If nothing is targeted, it will display your current zone, job, and coordinates. If an enemy is targeted, it will display that enemy's current hit point total, how he detects you, as well as what he is weak against, and his approximate level. Sadly, these features don't work on many of the new zones and enemies, so this plugin is only useful some of the time. This brings us to the final plugin of the video. It's a default plugin called Timers, and it's one of the most useful tools that Windower offers. It keeps track of all current ability and spellcast recast timers, as well as durations on the buffs that you cast. This is one of the few display windows that cannot be relocated by dragging and dropping, so if you are unhappy with the placement of this add-on, you will need to change the recast X, recast Y, buffs X and buffs Y entries inside of the timers.xml file inside of the windower4/plugins/settings directory. And that's going to be it for the 20 add-ons and plugins that I use in my videos. I hope some people found that helpful in regards to getting those installed and configured. As always, if you have any questions, go ahead and post them down there in the comments section. I'll be happy to help. And everyone have a great week.